I think it gets to a point as modern photographers that new gear feels less and less exciting. And I feel like I've shared the sentiment with other people in the last few months, because once you start thinking about the best image quality and the sharpest lenses, you kind of lose sight of what photography was to you in the first place. Like the constant checking of image quality and autofocus speeds and biggest sensor size, it starts to become more like a checklist than an actually enjoyment of the hobby or the profession. And honestly, I've been feeling like this for a while, but then this camera showed up. And to be upfront, OM Systems did send me this camera out to try. It's on loan. I don't get to keep it. And honestly, they didn't really say they wanted a review per se. I just wanted to really try out a different system. And I honestly told them, if I don't enjoy the camera, I don't really want to make a video, because if you're familiar with my channel, this whole channel is a hobby. So if I'm not enjoying the camera, I'm really not going to spend time making a video about it. But ever since trying this camera, OM Systems originally sent this out to me to try for a couple of weeks, and actually emailed them if I could extend it longer, because I really enjoy using this camera, and I feel like only a couple weeks is not enough to kind of get into the weeds of what makes this camera special. But this video is like kind of a review, but mostly at first impressions and what it's been like using Micro Four Thirds for the first time in 2025.
These are the moments that hold us together, that will be remembered for the rest of our lives.
So I've been taking this camera with me basically everywhere. I ping it on family trips, on walks. I used it at a wedding. And what stood out about this camera is not just how technically good it is, because it's a very capable camera, but how little friction it takes for me to actually enjoy the process of taking the photo.
Some just a whisper, passing the time. I don't wanna miss it all.
Honestly, when I'm burnt out, I stop seeing light, I stop noticing details. The thing is, this thing had me noticing stuff again. And I don't mean like in a big dramatic re-falling in love with photography kind of way. More like small moments that I didn't feel like passing up, and sometimes I think that's enough. And a quick specs rundown, this is a Micro Four Thirds camera with a 20 megapixel sensor. It has very good autofocus. It does 10-bit video. It has, a lot of the major technical specs that you want from a modern camera, but I don't think that's what makes it good. And honestly, after a month, I wasn't really just using this camera to test it. I was just using it because I enjoy using it. And honestly, I think it's pretty rare for me these days, because I'm always testing out different gear, because I am a professional photographer and videographer. So I'm always looking for things that's going to make my job easier. And having cameras that are not just fun, but also capable, kind of go hand in hand. So I'm always using cameras to test out what I can do for my job that makes everything a lot quicker. And again, this camera is super capable, but I was using it to just shoot everything and anything. I started bringing a smaller bag, and even though I wasn't planning on shooting anything, I just thought, oh, what would happen if I just bring this along with me? And I just want to talk about the design of this camera really quick, because it is such a beautiful design. And, everybody tosses around the word like retro or nostalgic, but this is just such a classic look for a camera. And by the look of it, it's such a small camera. Again, I have very small hands, but the design of this is so nice to look at and so nice to shoot with. Like, the shutter is really, really snappy and clicky, and I just love the sound of it. You feel the shutter whenever you press it, and that's something I really appreciate in a lot of cameras, especially coming from the S9 that I use as my dad camera. That one doesn't have a mechanical shutter, so you don't really feel the feedback whenever you press the shutter. But for this one, it just sounds so good. And honestly, this camera feels really, really solid in the hand, even though it's a lot lighter than what I'm used to with full frame cameras. And so like the whole experience feels really, really premium. Like the top and the bottom feel very nice and solid and metallic. The dials have a really nice feeling to them. It reminds me a lot of like my Nikon ZF. If you ever shot with that camera, it's super tactile, which is something I really, really like. Even down to the on and off switch here. Like, I love that it's like just a physical dial that you flick on and off, and I just love that. Even going back and forth between photo and video, there's a dedicated knob for that if you're shooting with this camera for both photo and video, which, to be honest, I haven't been doing much of it because I've been having such a fun experience just shooting photos with this. Like, I just love the overall layout of this camera, and if you're familiar with me and my channel, I just love when cameras have everything I need from just looking at the camera. Like, even though this camera doesn't really have a grip, it has like an indentation in the back, which is really, really comfortable to hold. And especially since it's not a super heavy camera, I don't feel fatigued. And, you know, with these, pairing up with these really compact prime lenses, like, it makes the whole kit super, super portable and tiny, which is something I really appreciate as a busy dad and as like a gear nerd. Is something I really appreciate because I can have a really fun camera without having to carry a bunch of stuff. And I know one of the things that photographers like to complain about is flippy screens, and whether or not you should have a flippy screen over just like a screen that flips this way. And honestly, as a videographer and photographer, someone who shoots a lot of hybrid stuff, I really don't mind it. The way that this camera operates, like having the option to, you know, if you're taking a selfie, looking at this way, if you want to close out the screen, which is something I really like, closing the screen and just using the EVF. I really like that design language. You know, obviously it depends on your preference, but for me, I really like the way this is set up. I love the leatherette stuff that they have here. It's really nice and tactile, and honestly, it reminds me a lot of like my Nikon ZF in terms of like build quality, because the Nikon ZF is kind of built like a tank, and this feels really solid as well. You know, it's a Micro Four Thirds camera, but it's weather sealed. It has terrific IBIS, so I'm really happy with the design of this camera. Another thing I really like about the camera is this dial here right in the front, and it's something that I wish a lot more camera manufacturers would do, like a fun way. I know Fujifilm is doing it, but a fun way to just go between different settings for your colors. Like, this has a you can really dial in the settings on your camera from a color to a monochromatic, and there's a bunch of different settings like art. So for someone who really likes to tinker, I really love having the option of going between color and black and white. Even as simple as that, I think makes the shooting experience a lot better. And speaking of the dial and the customization with the color profiles in this camera, it is something I honestly didn't think I was going to enjoy as much as I did, because whenever I've had Fujifilm cameras and I hear about film simulations and all that stuff, and I've had multiple Fujifilm cameras. I had the X-T3, the Fujifilm X106, so I have a little bit of experience using those cameras and how fun it can be to have different, you know, film simulations. So, but honestly, whenever I try those things out, I usually just go back to using RAW, and I never look at the JPEGs, because I don't find that stuff as fun as other people do, and that's just my personal preference. And so I never looked at the JPEGs after a while. But with this camera, I find that I've been using this in JPEG more and more often, and actually mostly exclusively, because the customization that I like to do is very subtle, but I have specific preferences. So I've been tinkering around with different profiles, and I've had a lot of fun just shooting in JPEG, not really worrying about the settings, and just dialing it in camera and posting it on social media or sharing with my family. And that's something I really like about cameras. If the camera has that specific functionality to just dial it in camera, and not, if you don't want it to be super stylized, to have that option, or if you really want it stylized, to have that option. So for example, if you go onto the back on the dial, you get a bunch of different options. Your color profile, you get picture mode, and you actually can adjust your curves right in camera, which is something I really like, and I hope a lot more camera manufacturers do, because it's such a genius thing to have, especially for people like me who like to tinker with color and settings. Right now, the color profile I've been enjoying using the most is from my buddy Dave. He actually had a review out of this camera a while ago when it was released, and I just used his settings, and I really been enjoying using his color profile so far. I've been tinkering with my own, but I plan on making a future video kind of showcasing that specifically. Here in the settings, you can also have shading effects and sharpening and the contrast. I play with that a lot as well. So there's so many things you can actually do with film simulations or film profiles, or whatever you want to call them. So it's been a lot of fun for me to just let the camera be and just do its thing and not really worry about it, because the JPEGs look very, very nice in this camera. And I think I really also want to point out, like, the elephant in the room, as someone who primarily works with full frame cameras. I honestly like Micro Four Thirds. I've never used it before, so I was kind of scared off about using Micro Four Thirds as a working camera or just as an everyday camera, but honestly, I really love the look of it. The files are really easy to work with. I think, honestly, the Micro Four Thirds, for me as an everyday camera, is a really nice size for documenting my family and still having a fun camera to use for work. Like I said, I used this camera for a wedding, as another body for a wedding I was photographing up north. And honestly, I got a lot of really nice candid photos of family and friends and guests. I got some at the ceremony, and I don't always enjoy having a big camera in their face. So I tend to usually stick to like longer lenses on full frame just so I can stay back. But with this camera, people felt really friendly with it. They saw it. They saw me taking photos. They posed for the photos. They kept on going with their conversations for cocktail hour and stuff. And so I think, honestly, if you're going to use this in a professional setting, I think it's a great sensor. You get a lot of information out of it. And, you know, as a working professional, if you want A, B, or C, or D camera, having a bunch of different options, I think helps you create moments. So I would honestly recommend this if you're a working photographer and you want to add a little fun extra bit to your deliverables. If you're not like shooting film and stuff like that, I think this is a great way to, you know, have that fun factor for your guests, or for your couples. And since people responded really positively to getting photographs with this camera, I think it's a great addition to a wedding kit. And like I said, I'm not really going to go into video because I haven't really shot much video with this. It has 10-bit video, so for a professional videographer, it's something I really appreciate. I do want to make another video that's more like tech-based or settings-based, so I kind of want to help you set this up to have this OM system set up. So I still have this camera for another month or so, and since I've been really enjoying dialing in my settings, I want to make a whole dedicated video that just kind of breaks it down. If you're interested in having this camera, or you're new to the OM-3, or if you're new to Micro Four Thirds. So kind of to break it all down, I think as photographers in 2025, I think we are spoiled with so many choices, and I think it's getting harder and harder to pick what camera is best for you. And I think, I don't know if this is based on like my own experience or if it's an actual trend, but there seems to be a lot more photographer hobbyists or professionals now more than ever. So I think now more than ever, it's really important for you to pick gear that fits what you're shooting for. So if you're a hobbyist or you're someone who's starting with photography and who is not really worried about like different sensor sizes and you want a fun camera, I think the OM-3 is such a great camera for everyday carry. And again, if you're using it in a professional setting, it's more than capable. It's a great camera. And now that every manufacturer is trying to like get to like the perfect camera, I think when manufacturers are actually making stuff that feel fun, that feel like what brought me to photography in the first place, something that just feels inspiring, that feels like I want to carry it around, that's not super heavy, has a bunch of lenses that I can use that are light, I think that goes a long way. And it really depends on what you value as a photographer. So I think whether you're just getting into photography or a seasoned photographer, this is a camera we really take a look at, because again, I've had such a great time using it. And to be quite honest, and if I was to be super frank, the way that I would have a setup for just my personal stuff with my family and stuff, I would go for the OM-3 with the S9. And that's like my perfect setup for photo and video, mostly because I do like having multiple bodies, but these cameras are so small and fun and tiny and just such a perfect way to experience photography that if I had the choice to have this camera, I would totally buy myself a copy. And honestly, I want to see if I can make that happen eventually. Just having this camera and the S9 will be more than enough for my personal stuff and also as in a professional setting. So yeah, that's my first impressions and early review on what's it like to shoot with this camera. I'm having a lot of fun so far, and I can't wait to make another video for this because it's a system I'm really pumped for. And honestly, a lot of cameras don't do that for me anymore. Just mainly because, again, I do this for a living, and just I feel like a lot of cameras are very samey. And so, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. If you have any questions on the OM-3 or anything in particular regarding this camera or the experience, please in the comment section below. Or if you have opinions on the Micro Four Thirds sensor or this camera in particular, I'd love to hear your opinions. So thank you so much for watching this week's video. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe for more videos like this, and keep an eye out for another video on this camera, and I'll see you soon.